When my sister threw my wedding ring across the room at our family dinner and called it embarrassing costume jewelry, she had no idea she was about to meet the man who owned three of the largest technology companies in North America. What happened next changed our family forever. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from, and if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you. I am Sarah Chen, and at 29 years old, I had learned to measure success differently than most people around me. While my younger sister Amanda chased designer labels and social media validation, I had built my life around principles that my grandmother taught me during the years we spent together in her small apartment above her tailoring shop in San Francisco's Richmond district. My grandmother, Lily Chen, had immigrated from Taiwan in 1967 with nothing but exceptional skill with needle and thread and an unshakable belief that true worth came from character rather than possessions. She spent 43 years creating beautiful clothing for clients ranging from working mothers who needed professional wardrobes they could afford to wealthy socialites who appreciated her artistry and discretion. Her hands were never idle, her standards never compromised, and her dignity never dependent on others' recognition or approval. The tailoring shop occupied the ground floor of a narrow building in a neighborhood where immigrant families worked multiple jobs to provide opportunities for their children. The apartment upstairs contained only essential furniture, but every piece was carefully maintained and arranged with aesthetic sensibility that reflected Lily's understanding of beauty. She taught me that elegance had nothing to do with expense and everything to do with thoughtfulness, quality, and respect for craftsmanship. During my childhood years living with Lily, while my parents worked demanding jobs in the financial district, I absorbed lessons about value that would shape every important decision in my life. I learned to distinguish between price and worth, between fashion and style, between impression and substance. I watched Lily create gorgeous garments from modest materials while declining to purchase expensive items that offered no practical benefit or lasting satisfaction. These lessons became particularly relevant during my teenage years when I began attending Westfield Academy, a private school where most students came from families with significant wealth. The social dynamics at Westfield revolved around visible displays of affluence, designer clothing, expensive accessories, luxury vacations, and constant competition regarding whose parents possessed greater financial resources. Many students seemed to believe that their possessions defined their identity and determined their social value. I navigated this environment by focusing on academic excellence and developing genuine friendships with classmates who shared my interest in learning rather than status comparison. My simple clothing and practical accessories occasionally attracted negative attention from students who interpreted lack of designer labels as indication of inferior social position, but I had learned from Lily that others' opinions about material possessions revealed more about their own insecurities than about my actual worth. This foundation proved invaluable during my university years at Berkeley, where I studied business administration while working part-time jobs to minimize student loan debt. Many classmates financed their education entirely through family resources and spent their free time at expensive restaurants and exclusive social events. I preferred studying in the library, volunteering with literacy programs, and maintaining the disciplined approach to learning that Lily had modeled throughout my childhood. After graduation, I accepted a position with Morrison & Associates, a mid-sized consulting firm that specialized in helping small businesses improve their operations and profitability. The work aligned perfectly with my interests and values. Rather than pursuing maximum personal compensation, I found satisfaction in developing strategies that enabled family-owned businesses to compete more effectively, create additional employment opportunities, and serve their communities more successfully. Morrison & Associates occupied modest offices in a converted warehouse that reflected the firm's focus on practical results rather than impressive appearances. My colleagues were intelligent, hardworking professionals who measured success by the positive impact they created for their clients rather than by luxury lifestyle indicators. The compensation was adequate for my needs, the learning opportunities were extensive, and the work environment supported collaboration and continuous professional development. My personal life during these years reflected the same principles of substance over appearance. I lived in a small but well-maintained apartment in Oakland, furnished with pieces selected for quality and functionality, rather than brand recognition or trendiness. I cooked most of my meals at home, read extensively, maintained close friendships with people whose company I genuinely enjoyed, and pursued hobbies that provided intellectual stimulation and personal satisfaction. Dating had always been challenging for me because my approach to relationships emphasized compatibility, shared values, and long-term potential rather than immediate excitement or social status enhancement. Many men I met through work or social activities seemed more interested in projecting successful images than in developing authentic connections based on mutual understanding and respect. I preferred being alone to compromising my standards or pretending to value things that seemed superficial or meaningless. This background made my eventual meeting with David particularly remarkable. I encountered him not at an exclusive social event or through professional networking, but at the Berkeley Public Library during a Saturday morning in March when I was researching historical examples of successful business turnarounds for a client presentation. He was sitting at a nearby table reading a biography of industrial innovator Andrew Carnegie, and our conversation began when we both reached for the same volume of Harvard Business Review archives. David appeared to be close to my age, dressed casually in well-made but unremarkable clothing that suggested practical rather than fashion-conscious preferences. His questions about my research revealed sophisticated understanding of business strategy and genuine curiosity about the challenges facing small companies in competitive markets. Our discussion continued over coffee at a nearby cafe, where I learned that he shared my interest in sustainable business practices and community economic development. What impressed me most about David during our initial conversations was his thoughtful approach to complex problems, and his obvious respect for people working to improve their circumstances through honest effort. He asked insightful questions about my consulting work, and offered observations that demonstrated both analytical intelligence and genuine concern for the human impact of business decisions. He possessed the rare combination of intellectual capability and emotional authenticity that I had always hoped to find in a potential partner. Our courtship developed gradually over several months of regular meetings for coffee, walks through various Bay Area neighborhoods, visits to museums and bookstores, and long conversations about topics ranging from literature to economics to social responsibility. David consistently demonstrated characteristics that aligned with my deepest values: intellectual curiosity, personal integrity, consideration for others, and commitment to using his capabilities for purposes beyond pure self-interest. David's lifestyle appeared consistent with someone who worked in technology consulting, though he never discussed specific details about his professional responsibilities. He lived in a modest apartment in Palo Alto, drove a reliable but unremarkable sedan, and seemed to prefer simple pleasures like hiking, cooking, and reading to expensive entertainment or luxury consumption. This compatibility in values and preferences created the foundation for the deep emotional connection that developed between us. When David proposed after 18 months of increasingly serious relationship, he did so with characteristic thoughtfulness and sincerity. Rather than orchestrating an elaborate public display, he chose a quiet evening in his apartment, where we had shared countless hours of meaningful conversation. The proposal itself reflected his understanding of my personality and values: simple, heartfelt, and focused on our commitment to building a life together based on shared principles rather than external expectations. The engagement ring he offered perfectly embodied everything I treasured about David and our relationship. The band was crafted from white gold, with clean, elegant lines that would complement any outfit and remain stylish regardless of changing fashion trends. The center stone was a modest but beautifully cut diamond that sparkled with quiet brilliance, selected obviously for its quality and craftsmanship, rather than for impressive size or dramatic impact. The overall design was timeless, sophisticated, and completely appropriate for someone who valued substance over ostentation. I accepted David's proposal with genuine joy and deep gratitude for having found someone whose approach to life complemented my own so perfectly. The ring represented everything I loved about our relationship: authentic feeling rather than superficial display, careful consideration rather than impulsive gesture, and focus on long-term value rather than immediate impression. When I wore it, I felt connected not only to David but to the principles that had guided both of us throughout our lives. Planning our wedding reflected the same values that had shaped our relationship. We chose a small ceremony at a historic inn in Sausalito with approximately 50 guests consisting of family members and close friends whose presence would make the occasion meaningful rather than impressive. The focus was on celebrating our commitment to each other and sharing our happiness with people who had supported us individually and as a couple. My family's response to the engagement announcement revealed the different approaches to life that had developed between Amanda and myself during our adult years. While my parents expressed genuine happiness about my engagement to someone who obviously loved and respected me, Amanda's reaction focused primarily on wedding planning details that emphasized social status and material display rather than personal significance. Amanda had graduated from USC with a communications degree and worked for a high-end event planning company in Beverly Hills, where her daily responsibilities involved coordinating elaborate celebrations for wealthy clients who measured success by expense and exclusivity. Her professional environment had reinforced her belief that important occasions required luxury venues, designer everything, and guest lists calculated to enhance social positioning rather than celebrate authentic relationships. From the moment I announced my engagement, Amanda began offering unsolicited advice about wedding planning that reflected her professional experience and personal values. She recommended venues that cost more than my annual salary, suggested guest lists that included acquaintances rather than close friends, and emphasized the importance of creating an event that would photograph well for social media, rather than feel meaningful to the participants. Most significantly, Amanda expressed immediate concern about my engagement ring, which she deemed, quote, completely inadequate for someone planning a wedding that would be attended by family members and photographed for permanent memories. She suggested that David and I visit jewelry stores she recommended, where we could select a proper engagement ring that would photograph better and create a more impressive visual impact. These suggestions revealed the fundamental difference in how Amanda and I understood the purpose and meaning of marriage ceremonies. For Amanda, weddings were primarily social events designed to project success and status to an audience whose approval validated the couple's worthiness. For me, our wedding was a personal commitment ceremony where David and I would promise to support each other through whatever challenges and opportunities life might bring. This difference in perspective created tension during the months leading up to our wedding as Amanda continued offering advice that contradicted our priorities and values. She could not understand why we preferred simplicity over elaboration, intimacy over publicity, or personal meaning over social impression. Her frustration with our choices eventually culminated in the confrontation that would forever change our family dynamics and reveal truths that none of us had anticipated. The foundation of dignity that my grandmother had instilled in me during childhood, reinforced through years of choosing substance over appearance, prepared me for challenges I could not have imagined. The principles that guided my relationship with David, my approach to career development, and my understanding of personal worth would soon be tested in ways that revealed both their strength and their ultimate vindication. Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now back to the story. As our wedding date approached, I felt confident that David and I were building our marriage on the same solid foundation of mutual respect, shared values, and authentic commitment that had characterized our courtship. The modest engagement ring on my finger represented everything I valued most: genuine love, thoughtful consideration, and focus on lasting significance rather than temporary impression. I did not yet know that within months, this ring would become the catalyst for revelations that would fundamentally alter my family's understanding of success, worth, and the relationship between appearance and reality. The dignity I had learned from my grandmother and practiced throughout my life would prove to be the most valuable preparation possible for the challenges and opportunities that lay ahead. Amanda Chen inhabited a universe where perception determined reality, and where success was measured exclusively through visible markers of wealth and social positioning. At 26 years old, she had constructed her entire identity around the principle that appearance created truth, that expensive possessions generated respect, and that social validation provided the only meaningful measure of personal worth. Her professional environment at Platinum Events, Beverly Hills, most exclusive party planning company, had reinforced these beliefs while providing her with intimate access to the lifestyle and mindset of Southern California's ultra-wealthy elite. Platinum Events occupied a gleaming glass building on Rodeo Drive, where every surface reflected the company's commitment to luxury and exclusivity. The reception area featured Italian marble floors, crystal chandeliers imported from Austria, and furniture crafted by European artisans whose waiting lists extended months into the future. Original artwork from recognized contemporary masters decorated the walls, while fresh orchids flown in daily from Thailand provided subtle fragrance that complemented the atmosphere of refined sophistication. Amanda's office on the third floor commanded views of the Beverly Hills shopping district, where clients regularly spent more on single shopping excursions than most families earned in entire years. Her workspace was furnished with pieces selected specifically to impress clients, whose expectations had been shaped by access to the finest luxuries available anywhere in the world. The custom-built desk was crafted from rare Brazilian rosewood, while the seating area featured Italian leather sofas arranged around a coffee table made from a single piece of Carrara marble. The daily operations at Platinum Events provided Amanda with constant exposure to wealth that exceeded most people's capacity for comprehension. Client budgets for individual events routinely ranged from $500,000 to several million dollars, with no expense considered unreasonable if it contributed to creating memorable experiences that would enhance the host's social standing. Amanda had coordinated birthday parties with guest lists that included Hollywood celebrities and international business moguls, anniversary celebrations held at private estates with grounds larger than most public parks, and corporate events where the floral arrangements alone cost more than luxury automobiles. This environment had profoundly influenced Amanda's understanding of success, status, and personal value. She had learned to evaluate people immediately, based on their clothing, accessories, and general presentation, understanding that in her professional world, these external indicators provided reliable information about clients, financial resources, and social importance. Clients who arrived wearing clothing from recognized luxury designers, carrying handbags that cost tens of thousands of dollars, and displaying jewelry that required insurance policies, typically received more attention and deference than those whose appearance suggested more modest financial circumstances. Amanda's personal wardrobe reflected her complete internalization of these values and her understanding of how appearance influenced professional opportunities and social interactions. Her closet contained exclusively designer clothing purchased from boutiques that required appointments and often involved personal shopping services that curated selections based on clients, lifestyles, and social calendars. She owned handbags from every major luxury house, each one representing an investment equivalent to several months of rent for most young professionals. Her jewelry collection included pieces from Cartier, Tiffany, and Van Cleef & Arpels, selected not only for their aesthetic appeal but for their immediate recognizability by others who understood luxury goods. The apartment Amanda rented in West Hollywood reflected the same commitment to impressive appearances that characterized her professional environment and personal presentation. The two-bedroom unit in a luxury building featured floor-to-ceiling windows, high-end appliances, and finishes that would photograph beautifully for the social media posts that documented her lifestyle for hundreds of followers who admired her apparent success and sophistication. The monthly rent consumed nearly 60% of her salary, but Amanda considered this a necessary investment in maintaining the image that supported her professional credibility and social positioning. Amanda's approach to relationships reflected the same principles that guided her career and lifestyle choices. She evaluated potential romantic partners primarily based on their financial resources, professional status, and ability to enhance her social standing through association. Her dating history included investment bankers, entertainment industry executives, and entrepreneurs whose success provided access to exclusive social circles and luxury experiences that reinforced her desired self-image. These relationships typically involved elaborate dinners at restaurants that required reservations months in advance, weekend trips to luxury resorts that charged more per night than most people earned per week, and attendance at exclusive social events where networking opportunities could advance both partners' professional and social objectives. Amanda measured the success of these relationships not by emotional compatibility or shared values, but by the lifestyle experiences they provided and the social validation they generated through association with successful men. The contrast between Amanda's approach to life and Sarah's values-based philosophy had created increasing tension between the sisters during their adult years. Amanda interpreted Sarah's modest lifestyle and practical choices as evidence of limited ambition and failure to maximize her potential for social and professional advancement. She could not understand why Sarah preferred simple pleasures to luxury experiences, why she chose substance over style, or why she seemed content with achievements that provided personal satisfaction rather than social recognition. This fundamental difference in worldview became particularly apparent during family gatherings, where Amanda's expensive clothing, designer accessories, and constant references to exclusive experiences highlighted the disparity between her lifestyle and Sarah's more modest approach to success. Amanda often made comments about Sarah's career choices, living situation, and general presentation that reflected her belief that Sarah was settling for less than she deserved, rather than pursuing the impressive achievements that Amanda considered essential for personal fulfillment. Amanda's reaction to Sarah's engagement announcement revealed the depth of her commitment to appearance-based evaluation of relationships and life choices. Rather than celebrating Sarah's obvious happiness and the genuine connection she had developed with David, Amanda immediately focused on analyzing the engagement from a social status perspective that emphasized material display over emotional significance. The engagement ring became Amanda's primary concern because she understood that jewelry served as a public declaration of a man's financial resources and commitment level. In Amanda's professional and social environment, engagement rings were expected to demonstrate substantial financial investment, preferably involving stones large enough to be noticed and admired by observers who understood luxury goods. The ring's size, quality, and design communicated important information about the fiancé's success and the relationship's social significance. Sarah's modest engagement ring failed to meet Amanda's expectations for several reasons that reflected her values and professional experience. The diamond was beautiful but small by the standards of Amanda's social circle, where clients routinely wore engagement rings featuring stones of 3 carats or larger. The setting was elegant but simple, lacking the elaborate design elements that would create dramatic visual impact in photographs or social situations. The overall appearance suggested careful consideration and personal taste rather than impressive financial investment. Amanda's concern about the ring extended beyond mere aesthetic preferences to deeper worries about how Sarah's engagement would reflect on their family's social standing. Amanda had worked carefully to establish her professional reputation and social positioning within Beverly Hills' luxury event planning industry, where personal credibility depended partly on association with successful, sophisticated people who understood and appreciated the finer things in life. Sarah's modest engagement ring suggested that her fiancé either lacked sufficient financial resources to purchase impressive jewelry or did not understand the social importance of making substantial material investments in romantic relationships. These concerns motivated Amanda to offer extensive unsolicited advice about upgrading the engagement ring, selecting more prestigious wedding venues, and planning a celebration that would create appropriate social impact. She recommended jewelry stores where Sarah and David could examine larger diamonds and more elaborate settings that would photograph better and generate more admiration from family members and wedding guests. She provided detailed information about luxury wedding venues that would create impressive backdrops for photography and establish the appropriate atmosphere for a celebration worthy of documentation and social media sharing. Amanda's suggestions reflected her genuine belief that Sarah was making unfortunate choices that would limit her social opportunities and reflect poorly on her judgment and ambitions. From Amanda's perspective, weddings represented crucial opportunities to establish social positioning, network with influential people, and create lasting impressions that could benefit couples throughout their married lives. Sarah's preference for intimacy over spectacle seemed like a waste of valuable social capital and a missed opportunity for advancement. The months leading up to Sarah's wedding provided Amanda with numerous occasions to express her concerns and offer corrections to what she perceived as suboptimal planning decisions. Each conversation revealed the fundamental differences in how the sisters understood success, relationships, and personal fulfillment. Amanda could not comprehend why Sarah seemed satisfied with achievements that provided personal meaning rather than social recognition, why she valued authenticity over impression, or why she appeared content with a lifestyle that Amanda considered beneath her potential. Amanda's frustration with Sarah's choices intensified as the wedding date approached, and it became clear that Sarah intended to proceed with plans that Amanda considered inadequately impressive for a family celebration that would be attended by relatives and documented through photography. The modest venue, simple decorations, and intimate guest list seemed to Amanda like evidence of limited vision rather than thoughtful priorities. She worried that the wedding would reflect poorly on their family's status and success, particularly given her own professional reputation within the luxury events industry. The engagement ring continued to symbolize Amanda's broader concerns about Sarah's life choices and their potential impact on family social standing. Each time she saw the modest diamond on Sarah's finger, Amanda felt renewed frustration about her sister's apparent willingness to accept less than what Amanda considered appropriate for someone with Sarah's education, intelligence, and family background. The ring represented everything Amanda found troubling about Sarah's approach to life: prioritizing personal satisfaction over social advancement, choosing substance over appearance, and accepting modest achievements rather than pursuing impressive success. Amanda's professional environment reinforced these concerns through constant exposure to clients whose engagement rings, wedding celebrations, and general lifestyle choices reflected substantial financial resources and sophisticated understanding of luxury goods and exclusive experiences. The contrast between these clients' approaches to important life events and Sarah's modest planning decisions highlighted what Amanda perceived as her sister's failure to maximize her opportunities for social and material advancement. The luxury event planning industry had provided Amanda with extensive knowledge about wedding traditions, social expectations, and the relationship between celebration planning and long-term social positioning. She understood that weddings created lasting impressions among family members, friends, and professional associates who would remember the occasion for years and draw conclusions about the couple's success, taste, and social status based on the celebration's scale, sophistication, and attention to impressive details. This professional expertise motivated Amanda's continued efforts to influence Sarah's wedding planning decisions, even as it became clear that Sarah remained committed to priorities that Amanda found incomprehensible. Amanda genuinely believed that she was helping Sarah avoid social and professional mistakes that could limit future opportunities and affect long-term happiness. Her advice reflected sincere concern for Sarah's welfare, filtered through values and assumptions that prioritized external validation over personal satisfaction. As the wedding approached, Amanda's anxiety about the event and its potential social implications continued to intensify. She had invested considerable time and emotional energy in establishing her professional reputation and social positioning within Beverly Hills' luxury lifestyle community, where personal credibility depended partly on association with successful, sophisticated people who understood and appreciated quality and exclusivity. Sarah's modest wedding plans threatened to undermine Amanda's carefully constructed image by suggesting that her family lacked the financial resources, social connections, or refined taste necessary for impressive celebrations. The engagement ring remained the most visible symbol of these concerns, because jewelry provided immediate information about relationships and social status that could be evaluated quickly by observers who understood luxury goods. Amanda worried that family members, wedding guests, and anyone who saw photographs from the celebration would draw negative conclusions about Sarah's fiancé based on the ring's modest appearance, which could reflect poorly on their entire family's social standing and success. These mounting tensions and fundamental disagreements about values, priorities, and the meaning of success were building toward a confrontation that would reveal truths about David, Sarah, and their relationship that would fundamentally challenge Amanda's assumptions about wealth, status, and the relationship between appearance and reality. The world of surface and status that Amanda inhabited was about to collide with realities that would force her to reconsider everything she believed about success, worth, and the true markers of extraordinary achievement. The 3 months following my engagement became an intensive education in recognizing the fundamental differences between authentic success and performative wealth. My daily life provided me with countless opportunities to observe how genuine accomplishment manifested differently than the theatrical displays Amanda considered essential for social validation. Through my work at Morrison & Associates and my deepening relationship with David, I began developing a more sophisticated understanding of how truly successful individuals approached life, relationships, and the careful balance between private fulfillment and public responsibility. My consulting work during this period involved several clients whose stories illustrated the complex relationship between material prosperity and personal satisfaction. One particularly memorable project required me to analyze the operational challenges facing Hartwell Manufacturing, a family-owned business that had been producing precision industrial components for aerospace companies since 1962. The company's founder, Robert Hartwell, had built the operation from a single-bay garage into a facility employing over 200 skilled workers, generating annual revenues exceeding $40 million. What impressed me most about Robert Hartwell was not his financial success, though that was certainly significant, but his approach to leadership and his understanding of responsibility toward his employees and community. During my weeks of operational analysis at Hartwell Manufacturing, I observed how Robert interacted with workers at every level of the organization, from recent apprentices learning precision machining to senior engineers with decades of specialized experience. He knew the names of employees, children, remembered important family events, and demonstrated genuine concern for their professional development and personal welfare. Robert's office reflected his priorities and values in ways that reminded me of my grandmother's tailoring shop. The furniture was well-made but practical, selected for functionality rather than impression. The walls displayed photographs of completed aerospace projects where Hartwell components had played crucial roles, along with recognition letters from satisfied clients and awards for workplace safety and community involvement. The overall atmosphere emphasized substance over style, achievement over appearance, and long-term thinking over immediate gratification. The financial records I reviewed revealed that Robert could easily afford the luxury lifestyle that Amanda considered essential for successful people. Hartwell Manufacturing's profitability would have supported executive compensation packages comparable to those offered by major corporations, lavish office renovations, and extensive personal benefits. Instead, Robert had consistently chosen to reinvest profits into employee training programs, equipment upgrades, and community development initiatives that strengthened both the business and the surrounding neighborhood. This approach to success resonated deeply with the values my grandmother had instilled in me and the principles I observed in David's character and decision-making. Robert Hartwell had achieved extraordinary financial success while maintaining focus on purposes that extended beyond personal wealth accumulation. His leadership style, his treatment of employees, and his commitment to community welfare demonstrated that genuine accomplishment involved creating value for others, rather than simply maximizing individual benefit. The contrast between Robert's authentic success and Amanda's approach to status and recognition became increasingly apparent as I spent time analyzing successful businesses and observing truly accomplished individuals. The executives and entrepreneurs I encountered through my consulting work shared certain characteristics that differed significantly from the performative behaviors Amanda associated with achievement. They demonstrated quiet confidence, rather than aggressive self-promotion, made decisions based on long-term considerations rather than immediate impression, and measured success through meaningful contribution rather than social validation. David's behavior during this period provided me with additional insights into how genuinely successful individuals approached relationships and personal responsibilities. As our wedding date approached, David became increasingly involved in planning discussions, while maintaining the same thoughtful, principled approach that had characterized our entire courtship. He respected my preferences for simplicity and intimacy while ensuring that every detail of our celebration would reflect our shared values and commitment to authentic experience. David's approach to wedding planning revealed characteristics that I was beginning to recognize as markers of genuine sophistication and success. He researched vendors thoroughly, evaluated options based on quality and reliability rather than prestige or expense, and made decisions that prioritized meaningful experience over impressive appearance. When Amanda suggested elaborate alternatives to our modest plans, David listened respectfully, but remained committed to choices that reflected our actual preferences rather than external expectations. The engagement ring that had become a source of ongoing tension with Amanda represented perfectly David's understanding of value, quality, and personal significance. During one of our conversations about wedding planning, David explained his approach to selecting the ring in terms that revealed his deeper philosophy about relationships and material possessions. He had spent considerable time researching diamond quality, cut precision, and setting craftsmanship, ultimately choosing a ring that maximized beauty and durability within his intended budget, rather than pursuing maximum visual impact regardless of cost. David's explanation helped me understand that the ring represented his commitment to making thoughtful decisions based on genuine value, rather than social expectations or competitive pressure. The modest size of the diamond reflected not limited financial resources but deliberate choice to invest in quality and meaning rather than ostentation. The elegant setting demonstrated appreciation for craftsmanship and timeless design, rather than trendy styles that might seem dated within a few years. This conversation provided me with language and concepts for understanding what Amanda found troubling about our wedding plans and life choices. David and I were operating according to principles that prioritized substance over appearance, long-term satisfaction over immediate impression, and personal meaning over social validation. These principles produced results that looked different from the displays of wealth and status that Amanda considered essential for demonstrating success and generating respect from others. The differences between our approaches became particularly apparent during family dinners and social gatherings, where Amanda would attempt to guide conversations toward topics that emphasized material achievements and lifestyle experiences. She would discuss recent clients, elaborate celebrations, describe luxury venues and expensive services, and make comparisons between different approaches to wedding planning that highlighted what she perceived as inadequacies in our modest preparations. These conversations revealed Amanda's genuine concern for our social positioning and her sincere belief that we were making choices that would limit our future opportunities and reflect poorly on our family's status. Amanda could not understand why we seemed satisfied with achievements that provided personal fulfillment rather than social recognition, why we preferred authenticity over impression, or why we appeared content with celebrations that emphasized meaning rather than magnificence. My parents' reactions to these family discussions provided additional insight into the different approaches to success and validation that existed within our extended family. My mother, influenced by years of working in San Francisco's competitive financial services industry, sometimes expressed concerns similar to Amanda's about whether our modest wedding plans adequately reflected our educational achievements and professional potential. She worried that simplicity might be interpreted as lack of ambition rather than conscious choice based on personal values. My father, whose career in civil engineering had provided him with extensive exposure to successful individuals from various backgrounds, seemed more comfortable with our approach to wedding planning and life priorities. His professional experience had taught him to evaluate projects and people based on substance rather than appearance, to appreciate quality craftsmanship regardless of its visibility, and to understand that the most impressive achievements often involved careful attention to details that might not be immediately apparent to casual observers. These family dynamics created ongoing tension as our wedding date approached, and it became clear that David and I intended to proceed with plans that Amanda considered inadequately impressive for a celebration that would be attended by relatives and documented through photography. Each family gathering provided opportunities for Amanda to express her concerns and offer suggestions for modifications that would create more appropriate social impact. The engagement ring continued to serve as the primary symbol of Amanda's broader concerns about our life choices and their potential implications for family social standing. Amanda's comments about the ring became increasingly direct and critical as she realized that we had no intention of upgrading to something more impressive before the wedding. She began making remarks about how the ring would photograph, what impression it might create among wedding guests, and whether it adequately represented David's commitment and financial capacity. These comments revealed the depth of Amanda's commitment to appearance-based evaluation of relationships and personal worth. She genuinely believed that engagement rings served as public declarations of men's success and dedication, that wedding celebrations provided crucial opportunities for social positioning, and that modest choices represented missed opportunities for advancement rather than conscious decisions based on personal priorities. My grandmother's teachings about dignity, authenticity, and the relationship between character and true success provided me with perspective for understanding Amanda's concerns without being overwhelmed by them. Lily had taught me that other people's opinions about material possessions revealed more about their own values and insecurities than about the actual worth of the items or decisions being evaluated. This understanding helped me maintain confidence in our choices, while remaining compassionate toward Amanda's anxiety about social positioning. The professional environment at Morrison & Associates reinforced these lessons through daily exposure to clients and colleagues who had achieved genuine success through focus on substance rather than appearance. The most effective consultants in our firm were those who could analyze complex problems, develop practical solutions, and communicate recommendations clearly to clients who needed results rather than impressive presentations. Success in this environment depended on competence, reliability, and genuine concern for client welfare rather than personal charisma or lifestyle displays. This professional context provided me with additional confidence that the principles guiding David's and my approach to wedding planning and life decisions were sound foundations for long-term success and personal satisfaction. The same characteristics that made David an appealing partner, thoughtful decision-making, commitment to quality over quantity, and focus on long-term value rather than immediate impression, were the qualities I observed in the most successful professionals and business owners I encountered through my consulting work. As the wedding date approached, the tension between Amanda's expectations and our actual plans continued to intensify. Amanda had invested considerable emotional energy in attempting to influence our decisions toward choices that would align with her understanding of appropriate celebration and social positioning. Her frustration with our resistance to these suggestions reflected not mere stubbornness or aesthetic preferences, but fundamental disagreement about the purposes and priorities that should guide important life decisions. The upcoming family dinner that would precede our wedding by just 2 weeks represented a final opportunity for these tensions to be addressed, or for the underlying conflicts to escalate into direct confrontation. Amanda had been planning this gathering as an occasion to introduce David more formally to extended family members, and to celebrate our approaching marriage in ways that might compensate for what she perceived as inadequate wedding planning. I anticipated that this dinner would provide Amanda with additional opportunities to comment on our engagement ring, wedding preparations, and general approach to marriage and life priorities. David and I had discussed how to respond to such comments with grace and firmness, maintaining our commitment to authentic choices while respecting Amanda's concern for our welfare and family social standing. The education I had received through observing genuine success in my professional work and personal relationships had prepared me for these challenges while reinforcing my confidence in the values and principles that guided our decisions. The upcoming family gathering would test whether these foundations were adequate for maintaining dignity and authenticity under direct pressure from someone whose entire worldview challenged our fundamental assumptions about worth, success, and the relationship between appearance and reality. The family dinner that would forever alter our relationships and reveal truths none of us anticipated was scheduled for Saturday evening at our parents' home in Mill Valley, exactly 14 days before David and I would exchange vows. Amanda had orchestrated this gathering with characteristic attention to detail, viewing it as a crucial opportunity to introduce David more formally to extended family members, while creating an occasion that might compensate for what she perceived as the inadequate social impact of our modest wedding plans. The invitation list reflected Amanda's strategic approach to family gatherings, and her understanding of social dynamics within our extended network of relatives and family friends. She had included our parents, closest friends, several cousins who worked in prestigious professions, and neighbors whose approval Amanda considered important for maintaining our family's social standing within the affluent Mill Valley community. The gathering would provide Amanda with an audience for evaluating David and our relationship, while creating opportunities for her to influence perceptions about our upcoming marriage. Amanda spent considerable time planning the menu, decorations, and overall atmosphere for this dinner, approaching the task with the same professional expertise she applied to client events at Platinum Events. She selected wines from respected vineyards, arranged for catering from a restaurant known for sophisticated cuisine, and created table settings that would photograph well for the social media documentation she considered essential for important family occasions. The preparation reflected her genuine desire to honor our engagement while ensuring that the celebration met her standards for impressive presentation and social validation. My parents' home provided an appropriate venue for Amanda's vision of elegant family entertainment. The house, which they had purchased 15 years earlier during a period of career advancement and financial stability, featured spacious rooms designed for hosting gatherings, professional landscaping that created attractive backdrops for outdoor photography, and furnishings selected to impress guests, while providing comfortable spaces for conversation and relaxation. The dining room could accommodate 16 people around a custom-built table that had been crafted from reclaimed California redwood by local artisans. David approached this family gathering with the same thoughtful consideration he brought to all social situations. He understood the importance of making positive impressions on my extended family while remaining authentic to his own values and personality. In preparation for the evening, he researched conversation topics that might interest my parents, friends, reviewed information about Mill Valley's history and community development, and considered how to engage respectfully with relatives whose backgrounds and interests might differ significantly from his own. The weeks leading up to this dinner had provided David with extensive exposure to Amanda's concerns about our wedding planning and her broader anxiety about our life choices. He had listened patiently to her suggestions for upgrading various aspects of our celebration, while maintaining his commitment to decisions that reflected our actual preferences rather than external expectations. David's responses to Amanda's advice revealed his diplomatic skills and his understanding of family dynamics, acknowledging her concern for our welfare while remaining firm about choices that aligned with our shared values. David's approach to managing these family tensions impressed me with its combination of respect and authenticity. He never dismissed Amanda's suggestions rudely or suggested that her values were wrong, but he consistently explained our different priorities in terms that emphasized personal preference rather than superior judgment. This diplomatic strategy helped maintain family harmony while preserving our autonomy regarding important decisions about our wedding and future life together. The engagement ring continued to serve as a focal point for Amanda's concerns and a symbol of the broader disagreement about priorities and values that had created ongoing tension between us. During family conversations in the weeks before the dinner, Amanda had made increasingly direct comments about the ring's modest appearance, and her worry about how it would be perceived by relatives and family friends who would attend both the dinner and our wedding ceremony. These comments revealed Amanda's genuine belief that engagement rings functioned as public declarations of relationships, significance, and men's financial capacity. She could not understand why David and I seemed satisfied with jewelry that she considered inadequate for communicating appropriate messages about our commitment and success. From Amanda's perspective, the ring represented a missed opportunity for social positioning and a potential source of embarrassment during formal occasions where family members would be evaluated partly based on their material achievements and lifestyle choices. My preparation for this family gathering involved considerable reflection on how to maintain dignity and authenticity while managing what I anticipated would be challenging social dynamics. I understood that Amanda had invested considerable time and emotional energy in planning this dinner as an opportunity to showcase our family's success and sophistication to an audience whose approval she valued. I wanted to respect her efforts while remaining true to the principles that guided David's and my approach to relationships and life decisions. The evening began with cocktails in my parents' living room, where Amanda had arranged flowers from an exclusive florist and created conversation areas designed to facilitate introductions between David and family members he had not yet met. The atmosphere was elegant and welcoming, reflecting Amanda's professional expertise in creating environments that encouraged social interaction and positive impressions. Guests arrived wearing clothing that suggested careful attention to appearance and understanding of appropriate formal attire for significant family occasions. David's initial interactions with extended family members proceeded smoothly, demonstrating his natural social intelligence and genuine interest in learning about other people's experiences and perspectives. He engaged thoughtfully with my father's brother, who had built a successful medical practice in Sacramento, asking insightful questions about healthcare challenges and policy developments that revealed David's broader knowledge and analytical thinking. His conversation with my mother's closest friend, a retired teacher who had dedicated her career to education reform, showed his respect for public service and his understanding of complex social issues. Amanda observed these interactions with obvious satisfaction, pleased that David was making positive impressions and demonstrating the social competence she considered essential for successful integration into our family's social network. Her initial anxiety about David's ability to represent our family appropriately seemed to diminish as she watched him navigate conversations with intelligence, courtesy, and apparent comfort in the formal social setting she had created. The transition to dinner provided Amanda with additional opportunities to showcase her planning expertise while creating an atmosphere designed to honor our engagement and celebrate our upcoming marriage. The dining room table was decorated with sophisticated floral arrangements that complemented the elegant place settings and created visual interest without interfering with conversation. The menu featured dishes that balanced impressive presentation with broad appeal, ensuring that all guests would find options that suited their tastes while appreciating the overall quality and sophistication of the meal. The seating arrangement reflected Amanda's strategic thinking about social dynamics and her desire to create opportunities for meaningful interaction between David and family members whose approval she considered particularly important. She positioned David near my father's business partner, whose success in commercial real estate had earned him considerable respect within the family, and across from my cousin Jennifer, whose career in entertainment law had provided her with extensive experience evaluating people's potential for professional advancement and social success. The initial dinner conversation flowed naturally among topics that allowed guests to share information about their professional achievements, recent travel experiences, and perspectives on current events. David participated actively in these discussions, demonstrating knowledge that surprised several family members and revealing insights that suggested sophisticated understanding of business, politics, and cultural developments. His contributions to the conversation were thoughtful and well-informed without being dominating or pretentious. Amanda's satisfaction with the evening's progress was evident in her relaxed demeanor and her increasing confidence that this gathering was achieving her objectives of introducing David favorably to extended family while creating positive momentum toward our wedding celebration. The combination of elegant atmosphere, engaging conversation, and David's successful social performance seemed to validate her investment in planning this occasion and her belief in the importance of impressive family gatherings. However, the evening's trajectory began to shift when the conversation turned to wedding planning, and specifically to discussions of our engagement and upcoming ceremony. Several guests expressed interest in learning about our wedding preparations, asking questions about the venue, guest list, and general approach to celebrating our marriage. These inquiries provided Amanda with opportunities to comment on our choices while seeking validation for her concerns about what she perceived as inadequately impressive planning decisions. Amanda's responses to these questions revealed her ongoing frustration with our preference for simplicity over spectacle, and her worry about how our modest celebration might reflect on our family's social standing. She made several comments about the challenges of planning intimate weddings, the difficulties of creating meaningful celebrations within limited budgets, and the importance of ensuring that important family occasions received appropriate attention and resources. These comments created subtle but noticeable tension, as family members began to understand that disagreement existed between Amanda's expectations and our actual wedding plans. Several guests attempted to change the subject or redirect the conversation toward less controversial topics, but Amanda seemed determined to use this gathering as an opportunity to express her concerns and perhaps generate family pressure that might influence our remaining planning decisions. The engagement ring became the focus of Amanda's most direct comments when my cousin Jennifer complimented the ring's elegant design and asked about the selection process. Amanda responded with remarks that seemed designed to highlight what she perceived as inadequacies in David's choice, while inviting family members to share her concerns about the ring's modest appearance. These comments created visible discomfort among several guests who recognized the inappropriate nature of criticizing someone's engagement ring during a family celebration intended to honor the couple's upcoming marriage. David responded to Amanda's remarks with characteristic grace and dignity, acknowledging her perspective while gently explaining our different approach to jewelry selection and our focus on personal meaning rather than impressive appearance. The tension in the room became palpable as family members realized that they were witnessing a fundamental conflict about values and priorities rather than simple disagreement about wedding planning details. Amanda's comments had crossed boundaries of appropriate social behavior while revealing assumptions about success and worth that challenged the foundations of our relationship and our approach to important life decisions. My parents attempted to redirect the conversation toward more positive topics, but Amanda seemed unable to abandon her mission of expressing concerns about our choices and generating support for modifications that would create more impressive social impact. Her comments became increasingly direct and critical, focusing specifically on the engagement ring as a symbol of what she perceived as David's inadequate investment in our relationship and our family's social positioning. The growing tension reached a critical point when Amanda made a particularly harsh comment about the ring's appearance and its implications for David's commitment and financial capacity. The remark was delivered with enough force and directness that several guests gasped audibly, recognizing that Amanda had crossed well beyond the boundaries of appropriate family discussion into territory that threatened to humiliate both David and myself in front of our extended family. David's response to this escalating situation demonstrated remarkable composure and self-control. Rather than responding defensively or allowing Amanda's comments to provoke anger or embarrassment, he maintained his dignity while preparing for what he clearly recognized would be a defining moment in our family relationships. The stage was set for revelations and confrontations that would fundamentally alter everyone's understanding of success, worth, and the relationship between appearance and reality. The moment that would forever divide our family occurred when Amanda reached across the dining table during dessert service, grasped my left hand with unexpected force, and held my engagement ring under the chandelier light for all 16 guests to examine. Her voice carried throughout the suddenly silent dining room as she announced, "Everyone needs to see what passes for an engagement ring these days. Sarah, I cannot believe you are actually planning to wear this embarrassing piece of costume jewelry at your wedding." The collective gasp from family members and guests created a silence so profound that the only audible sounds came from the grandfather clock in the adjacent hallway and the distant hum of kitchen appliances. David's expression remained remarkably composed, though I noticed his jaw tighten almost imperceptibly as he processed Amanda's unprecedented breach of social decorum and personal respect. My parents appeared mortified by Amanda's behavior, my father's face reddening with embarrassment while my mother attempted to signal Amanda to cease her inappropriate commentary. Amanda seemed oblivious to the shock and discomfort she had created among the assembled guests. Her focus remained entirely concentrated on what she perceived as a necessary intervention to prevent our family from experiencing social embarrassment due to my acceptance of inadequate material demonstration of commitment. She continued her critique with increasing intensity, describing the ring's modest size, simple setting, and overall appearance in terms that suggested profound disappointment in both David's selection process and my willingness to accept what she characterized as substandard treatment. "Look at this tiny diamond," Amanda declared, still gripping my hand and angling the ring toward different guests around the table. "It cannot be more than half a carat, and the setting looks like something from a department store jewelry counter. David, I understand that finances might be challenging for someone in your position, but Sarah deserves better than this. She has a master's degree from Berkeley, she works for a respected consulting firm, and she comes from a family that has certain standards and expectations." The cruelty of Amanda's words extended beyond mere criticism of material choices to direct attacks on David's character, financial capacity, and worthiness as a partner. Her comments implied that David either lacked sufficient resources to purchase appropriate jewelry or demonstrated inadequate commitment by refusing to invest more substantially in our engagement ring. Either interpretation suggested fundamental inadequacies that would reflect poorly on his suitability as a husband and his ability to provide appropriately for our future together. David's response to this unprecedented attack demonstrated remarkable self-control and personal dignity. Rather than defending himself against Amanda's accusations or responding with the anger that would have been entirely justified under these circumstances, he placed his napkin carefully beside his dinner plate, looked directly at Amanda, and spoke with quiet authority that commanded immediate attention from everyone present. "Amanda, I understand your concern for Sarah's welfare, and I appreciate that your comments reflect genuine care for your sister's happiness and future security. However, I believe you may be operating under assumptions about success, value, and personal worth that do not align with the principles that Sarah and I consider most important in our relationship and our lives." The measured tone and sophisticated vocabulary of David's response surprised several guests who had not previously heard him speak at length about serious topics. His words suggested educational background and intellectual capability that contradicted Amanda's apparent assumptions about his professional status and social positioning. The confidence and composure he demonstrated under direct attack indicated personal strength and character that impressed family members who had been shocked by Amanda's inappropriate behavior. Amanda responded to David's diplomatic reply with escalating hostility, apparently interpreting his measured tone as evidence of weakness rather than strength. She released my hand but continued her verbal assault with increased intensity, focusing specifically on what she perceived as David's failure to understand appropriate standards for engagement jewelry and wedding celebrations within families of our social and educational background. David, with all due respect, this is not about different philosophies or personal values. This is about basic standards and appropriate treatment of the woman you claim to love. Sarah has worked hard to achieve her education and professional success, and she deserves a partner who demonstrates his commitment through meaningful investment, not through pretty words about principles and values. The atmosphere in the dining room became increasingly uncomfortable as Amanda's attack continued and intensified. Several guests began studying their dessert plates with obvious embarrassment, while others exchanged meaningful glances that indicated their recognition of Amanda's inappropriate behavior and their sympathy for the position in which she had placed both David and myself. My parents appeared increasingly mortified by their daughter's conduct, my father making subtle gestures suggesting that Amanda should cease her commentary while my mother looked as though she wished to disappear entirely. The situation deteriorated further when Amanda stood from her chair and began pacing behind the dining table, using her physical movement to emphasize her points while creating additional dramatic tension. Her professional experience in event planning had apparently provided her with understanding of how to use physical space and vocal dynamics to control social situations, though she was applying these skills in ways that served to humiliate rather than celebrate. "Everyone at this table needs to understand what we are dealing with here," Amanda announced, gesturing dramatically toward David and myself. "Sarah has been convinced to accept the absolute minimum effort from a man who is either unable or unwilling to demonstrate genuine commitment. This engagement ring is an insult to our family and an embarrassment to everyone who will attend their wedding." The escalation reached its peak when Amanda approached my chair, extended her hand palm upward, and made a demand that shocked everyone present, including myself. "Sarah, give me that ring right now. I am taking you to Tiffany next week to select something appropriate, something that actually reflects your worth and our family's standards." This charade has gone on long enough. The audacity of Amanda's demand created a moment of stunned silence before the dining room erupted in simultaneous reactions from multiple guests. My father stood abruptly from his chair, his face exhibiting anger I had rarely seen as he prepared to address Amanda's behavior with the authority of a parent whose daughter had violated every principle of respectful conduct and family loyalty. My mother covered her face with her hands, clearly overwhelmed by embarrassment and distress at witnessing such destructive behavior from her own daughter. Several cousins and family friends began speaking simultaneously, their voices overlapping as they attempted to express their shock at Amanda's conduct and their support for David and myself. The carefully orchestrated social gathering that Amanda had planned as an opportunity to showcase family sophistication and success had dissolved into chaos and conflict that would be remembered by all participants as a profound violation of social norms and family respect. David rose from his chair with deliberate calm, his movement commanding immediate attention and creating a momentary reduction in the cacophony of shocked voices. His physical presence seemed to expand as he prepared to address the situation with an authority and confidence that had not been fully apparent during his previous interactions with family members. The transformation was subtle but unmistakable, suggesting depths of character and capability that contradicted Amanda's assumptions about his background and status. "Amanda," David began, his voice carrying clearly throughout the dining room despite its measured volume. "I believe this conversation has revealed important differences in how we understand value, commitment, and appropriate behavior within family relationships. Before you continue making assumptions about my character, my resources, or my devotion to Sarah, perhaps you should consider whether your current approach is serving your stated objective of protecting your sister's welfare and happiness." The sophistication of David's language and the quiet authority of his delivery created a palpable shift in the room's dynamics. Family members who had been shocked by Amanda's behavior began to recognize that David possessed intellectual and emotional resources that extended far beyond Amanda's apparent assessment of his capabilities. His ability to maintain dignity and articulate complex thoughts under direct attack suggested background and education that challenged the assumptions underlying Amanda's critique. Amanda, however, seemed incapable of recognizing the changes occurring around her, or the growing isolation of her position. Her commitment to her critique and her belief in the correctness of her assessment prevented her from acknowledging the evidence that her fundamental assumptions about David might be inaccurate. Instead of reconsidering her approach, she doubled down on her attack with even greater intensity. "David, I do not need lectures about family relationships from someone who thinks a discount store engagement ring demonstrates adequate commitment to the woman he plans to marry. Sarah deserves better than your pretty speeches and philosophical deflections. She deserves tangible proof that you understand her worth and can provide appropriately for her future." The phrase discount store engagement ring proved to be Amanda's critical error, crossing the final boundary between inappropriate criticism and direct insult that could not be overlooked or forgiven by anyone present. The words hung in the air like a physical presence, creating a silence that seemed to press against everyone at the table, while they processed the full implications of Amanda's attack on both David's character and my judgment. My own anger finally overwhelmed the patience and diplomatic consideration I had maintained throughout Amanda's escalating assault. Rising from my chair with determination that surprised even myself, I faced my sister directly and spoke with clarity and firmness that left no ambiguity about my position or my expectations for her future conduct. "Amanda, your behavior tonight has been completely unacceptable, and your comments about David and our engagement represent a level of disrespect that I will not tolerate from anyone, including family members. You have insulted my fiancé, questioned my judgment, and embarrassed our parents in front of their closest friends. This ends now." The authority in my voice and the directness of my statement seemed to penetrate Amanda's defensive certainty for the first time during the evening. She appeared momentarily taken aback by my forceful response, perhaps recognizing that her behavior had pushed me beyond the limits of familial patience and diplomatic tolerance. However, rather than acknowledging her inappropriate conduct or attempting to repair the damage she had created, Amanda chose to escalate further. "Sarah, I am trying to protect you from making a terrible mistake that you will regret for the rest of your life. This man is taking advantage of your good nature and your willingness to accept less than you deserve. Someone has to tell you the truth, even if it makes me temporarily unpopular." The condescension inherent in Amanda's claim that she was protecting me from my own poor judgment represented the final escalation before the revelations that would fundamentally alter everyone's understanding of the situation. Her assumption that she possessed superior insight into David's character and our relationship dynamics, combined with her continued insistence on the primacy of material display over personal connection, had created conditions that would make the upcoming revelations particularly dramatic and transformative. David's response to Amanda's final attack would demonstrate not only his personal character under extreme pressure, but also reveal truths about his background and circumstances that would force everyone present, particularly Amanda, to reconsider their fundamental assumptions about success, worth, and the relationship between appearance and reality. The stage was now set for disclosures that would validate the principles that David and I had maintained throughout our relationship, while providing Amanda with profound lessons about the dangers of judging others based on material displays rather than authentic character. The transformation in David's demeanor occurred with such subtle precision that initially only I recognized the significance of what was unfolding. His posture straightened with the quiet authority of someone accustomed to commanding attention in rooms filled with influential decision-makers. His voice, when he spoke again, carried undertones of confidence that suggested extensive experience managing complex situations and difficult personalities. The change was not dramatic or theatrical, but rather the emergence of capabilities and presence that he had deliberately kept restrained during previous family interactions. "Amanda," David began, his tone maintaining perfect courtesy while conveying unmistakable authority, "I appreciate your concern for Sarah's welfare, though I believe your assessment of our situation may be based on incomplete information. Before you continue making assumptions about my character or capabilities, perhaps I should provide some context that might help you understand why Sarah and I have chosen to approach our engagement and wedding planning with different priorities than you might expect." The measured cadence of David's words and the sophisticated vocabulary he employed created immediate attention among family members who recognized that they were witnessing something beyond ordinary social conversation. His ability to maintain complete composure while addressing Amanda's increasingly hostile behavior suggested personal strength and professional experience that contradicted her apparent assumptions about his background and social positioning. Amanda responded to David's diplomatic opening with visible impatience, apparently interpreting his continued courtesy as evidence of weakness, rather than recognizing it as demonstration of superior social intelligence and emotional control. Her commitment to her original assessment prevented her from acknowledging the subtle but significant changes in David's presentation and the growing attention he was commanding from other guests around the dining table. "David, I do not need context or explanations about your financial situation. The evidence speaks for itself," Amanda declared, gesturing dramatically toward my engagement ring. "Sarah deserves a partner who demonstrates his commitment through meaningful investment, not through philosophical discussions about different approaches to material possessions. This is about basic respect and appropriate treatment of the woman you claim to love." The dismissive tone of Amanda's response and her continued focus on material demonstration rather than personal character provided David with the opening he needed to begin revealing information that would fundamentally challenge her assumptions and dramatically alter the evening's trajectory. His decision to provide clarification appeared motivated not by wounded pride or desire for vindication, but by recognition that Amanda's behavior had created a situation requiring direct intervention to protect both my dignity and family relationships. "Amanda, since you have chosen to make our personal decisions a matter of public family discussion, I believe it is appropriate for me to share some information that may help you understand why Sarah and I have approached our engagement with different priorities than you might expect from someone in what you perceive to be my circumstances." David paused briefly, allowing his words to register with family members who were beginning to recognize that significant revelations were forthcoming. His timing and delivery demonstrated sophisticated understanding of social dynamics and audience management that suggested extensive experience in situations requiring careful communication of sensitive information to diverse groups of people. "The engagement ring that you have criticized so extensively was indeed selected according to specific criteria, though perhaps not the criteria you might assume. Sarah and I chose this particular ring not because of financial limitations, but because it represents principles that we consider more important than impressive display or social validation." The precision of David's language and the confidence of his delivery began to create subtle shifts in the room's atmosphere, as family members recognized that they were hearing something beyond defensive explanations or attempts at face-saving rationalization. His words suggested knowledge and experience that extended far beyond what Amanda had assumed about his professional background and social positioning. David continued his explanation with increasing authority, his voice carrying clearly throughout the dining room, as he provided context that would begin to illuminate the vast disparities between appearance and reality that had shaped Amanda's misconceptions. The diamond in Sarah's ring was selected from a collection of stones that had been certified by the Gemological Institute of America for exceptional quality and precision of cut. The setting was designed by a master craftsman whose work is featured in private collections belonging to some of the most sophisticated jewelry collectors in the world. The overall design reflects hours of consultation regarding Sarah's personal preferences and lifestyle requirements. These details provided the first indication that David's approach to ring selection had involved considerably more expertise and resources than Amanda had assumed. His familiarity with gemological certification, master craftsmen, and sophisticated collectors suggested access to networks and knowledge that contradicted her assessment of his social and financial positioning. Amanda's response revealed her inability to process information that challenged her fundamental assumptions about the relationship between ring appearance and underlying value. Rather than reconsidering her critique in light of David's explanations, she doubled down on her original position with renewed intensity. "David, I do not care about technical specifications or supposedly prestigious craftsmen. The reality is that this ring looks modest and unimpressive, and that is how everyone will judge it and, by extension, judge Sarah and our family. Appearance matters in the real world, regardless of whatever hidden qualities you claim it possesses." Amanda's commitment to appearance-based evaluation and her dismissal of David's explanations about quality and craftsmanship provided him with the opportunity to reveal more substantial information about his background and circumstances. Her insistence on the primacy of visual impact over actual value had created conditions where direct disclosure would be both justified and necessary. Amanda, your focus on appearance and social perception raises interesting questions about how we evaluate worth and success in our personal relationships and professional endeavors. Since you have made our engagement ring a matter of family discussion, perhaps I should explain why Sarah and I have chosen to prioritize substance over display in our approach to this relationship and our future together. David's transition to broader philosophical discussion, while maintaining his measured tone and sophisticated vocabulary, continued to command increasing attention from family members who were recognizing that they were witnessing something extraordinary. His ability to maintain dignity while preparing to reveal significant information demonstrated personal qualities that impressed guests who had been shocked by Amanda's inappropriate behavior. The principles that guided our ring selection reflect approaches to decision-making that I have developed through professional experiences that may be somewhat different from what you have assumed about my background and current circumstances. My work requires careful evaluation of long-term value rather than immediate impression, systematic analysis rather than superficial assessment, and commitment to authentic relationships rather than performative displays. The vague references to professional experience and systematic analysis provided tantalizing hints about David's actual background without yet revealing specific information that would dramatically alter everyone's understanding of the situation. His strategic approach to disclosure demonstrated sophisticated communication skills and understanding of how to manage complex social dynamics during sensitive conversations. Amanda's response to these hints revealed her growing frustration with David's continued resistance to her critique and her inability to comprehend that her fundamental assumptions might be inaccurate. Her commitment to material-based evaluation prevented her from recognizing the significance of the information David was beginning to share. David, I am not interested in your professional philosophy or your theories about long-term value. I am concerned about my sister's immediate welfare and her future security. Your vague references to work experience and decision-making approaches do not address the fundamental issue, which is that Sarah deserves better treatment than what you have provided through this inadequate engagement ring. Amanda's continued dismissiveness and her insistence on returning to material criticism provided David with the final justification he needed to reveal information that would transform the entire evening and fundamentally alter everyone's understanding of success, worth, and the relationship between appearance and reality. Amanda, since you have repeatedly questioned my commitment to Sarah and my ability to provide appropriately for our future together, I believe it is time to share some specific information about my professional responsibilities and current circumstances that may help address your concerns. The formal tone of David's introduction and his reference to specific information created immediate tension and anticipation among family members who recognized that significant revelations were imminent. His careful phrasing suggested that whatever he was about to disclose would be substantial enough to require thoughtful presentation and serious consideration from everyone present. My current professional responsibilities involve serving as Chief Executive Officer and majority shareholder of 3 technology companies that develop software solutions for financial institutions, healthcare organizations, and educational systems throughout North America and Europe. These companies employ approximately 12,000 people across 47 offices, with combined annual revenues exceeding $4 billion. The silence that followed David's disclosure was profound and complete, creating an atmosphere so charged with shock and disbelief that even the ambient sounds of the house seemed to pause in recognition of the moment's significance. Family members sat frozen in their chairs, processing information that contradicted every assumption they had made about David's background, circumstances, and capacity for providing the kind of lifestyle Amanda had insisted Sarah deserved. Amanda's reaction revealed the depth of her shock and the complete collapse of the worldview that had motivated her evening-long attack on David's character and adequacy as a partner. Her face reflected a progression of emotions from confusion to disbelief to dawning recognition of the magnitude of her misjudgment and the implications for her own credibility and family relationships. "That cannot be accurate," Amanda whispered, her voice barely audible as she struggled to process information that demolished the foundation of her critique and revealed the complete inadequacy of her appearance-based assessment methods. David's response to Amanda's disbelief demonstrated remarkable patience and understanding, acknowledging the difficulty of accepting information that challenged fundamental assumptions while providing additional context that would help family members understand the scope of their misconceptions. Amanda, I understand that this information may be surprising, particularly given the assumptions you have made based on my lifestyle choices and personal presentation. The companies I mentioned are Meridian Systems, which provides software solutions for major banking institutions; Health Tech Solutions, which develops electronic medical record systems for hospital networks; and Eduvance, which creates learning management platforms for universities and school districts. The specific company names and detailed descriptions provided additional credibility to David's revelations while demonstrating his willingness to offer verifiable information that family members could investigate if they questioned his claims. His professional knowledge and comfortable discussion of complex business operations provided further evidence supporting his extraordinary disclosures. My father, whose experience in engineering had provided him with knowledge of major technology companies and their leadership, was the first family member to begin processing the implications of David's revelations. His expression shifted from shock to recognition as he connected the company names to businesses he had encountered through professional networks and industry publications. David, are you referring to the Meridian Systems that partnered with Wells Fargo and Bank of America for their digital transformation initiatives? The company that was featured in Forbes magazine for innovative financial technology solutions? My father asked, his voice reflecting growing comprehension of the true scope of David's professional achievements and financial resources. David's confirmation of his father's recognition provided additional validation of his claims, while beginning to illuminate for family members the vast disparity between his actual circumstances and Amanda's assumptions about his limitations and inadequacies. Yes, that is correct. Meridian Systems has been privileged to work with some of the most respected financial institutions in the country, helping them modernize their technology infrastructure while maintaining the security and reliability that their customers require. The measured pride in David's voice as he discussed his professional achievements revealed genuine satisfaction with meaningful work, rather than boastful display of wealth or status. His approach to sharing this information demonstrated the same values-based perspective that had guided our relationship, emphasizing contribution and service, rather than personal aggrandizement or social positioning. The confirmation from my father regarding David's professional achievements created a cascade of recognition among family members as they began connecting previously overlooked details to a dramatically different understanding of our situation. My cousin Jennifer, whose entertainment law practice had provided her with extensive exposure to high-net-worth individuals, was the next to speak, her voice carrying the carefully controlled tone of someone processing profound revelations about assumptions she had maintained throughout the evening. David, if you are the founder and majority shareholder of those companies, particularly Meridian Systems, then your personal net worth would place you among the most financially successful technology entrepreneurs in the United States. The valuation reports I have seen for companies of that scale and market penetration suggest assets that extend well beyond what most people would consider traditional measures of wealth. Jennifer's professional assessment provided additional context that helped family members understand the extraordinary nature of David's disclosures and the complete inadequacy of Amanda's material-focused critique. Her recognition of the financial implications associated with David's business achievements began to illuminate the vast disparity between his actual circumstances and the limitations Amanda had assumed, based on his modest lifestyle and unpretentious personal presentation. David responded to Jennifer's assessment with characteristic understatement and focus on contribution rather than personal enrichment, demonstrating the same values-driven perspective that had attracted me to him initially and that had guided our entire relationship development. Jennifer, you are correct that the companies have achieved financial performance that has created significant personal wealth. However, Sarah and I have chosen to approach our relationship and our life planning with priorities that emphasize meaning and service, rather than lifestyle display or social positioning. The business success has provided us with opportunities to contribute to causes we consider important, while maintaining the personal values that we believe create authentic happiness and fulfillment. David's reference to opportunities for contribution and his emphasis on personal values provided insights into his approach to wealth management that contradicted common assumptions about how extraordinarily successful entrepreneurs utilized their financial resources. His perspective suggested sophisticated understanding of the relationship between material prosperity and personal satisfaction that aligned perfectly with the principles my grandmother had instilled in me during childhood. Amanda's reaction to these revelations revealed the profound disorientation that resulted from having her fundamental worldview challenged so dramatically and completely. Her commitment to appearance-based evaluation had not only proven completely inaccurate, but had led her to humiliate herself and damage family relationships through attacks that were now revealed as based on entirely false premises. "I do not understand how this is possible," Amanda said, her voice reflecting confusion and distress as she struggled to reconcile David's extraordinary financial success with his modest lifestyle and unpretentious personal presentation. "If you possess that level of wealth and business achievement, why would you choose to live so simply? Why would you select such a modest engagement ring? Why would you plan such a small, intimate wedding?" Amanda's questions revealed her inability to comprehend approaches to success and wealth that differed from the display-focused models she had encountered through her professional environment and social networks. Her confusion reflected the limitations of evaluation systems that equated visible consumption with actual achievement, and assumed that successful individuals would naturally prioritize impressive lifestyle demonstration over personal authenticity and meaningful contribution. David's response to Amanda's bewilderment provided profound insights into the philosophy and decision-making framework that guided his approach to business leadership, personal relationships, and wealth utilization. His explanation would offer family members a masterclass in authentic success principles that challenged conventional assumptions about the relationship between achievement and lifestyle display. "Amanda, the success of my companies has taught me that sustainable achievement requires focus on long-term value creation rather than short-term impression management. The same principles that have enabled our businesses to serve clients effectively and employ thousands of people successfully also guide Sarah's and my personal decisions about how we want to live and what we want to prioritize in our relationship." David paused to ensure his words were registering with family members who were still processing the magnitude of the evening's revelations before continuing with explanations that would provide deeper understanding of his values-based approach to extraordinary wealth and business success. "The engagement ring that Amanda has criticized represents our commitment to choosing quality and meaning over size and spectacle. The diamond was selected from a private collection that included stones with exceptional provenance and superior characteristics that are not immediately apparent to casual observation. The setting was created by a master craftsman whose work is sought by the most discerning collectors worldwide, though his pieces are designed for elegance rather than ostentation." These additional details about the engagement ring's true characteristics and origins provided dramatic contrast to Amanda's assessment, while illustrating how sophisticated appreciation of quality often differed significantly from surface-level evaluation based on immediate visual impact. David's explanation revealed that what Amanda had dismissed as inadequate actually represented access to exclusive resources and expertise that extended far beyond conventional luxury retail markets. My mother, who had remained largely silent during the evening's dramatic developments, finally spoke with a voice that reflected both amazement at the revelations and deep embarrassment about Amanda's behavior throughout the dinner. "David, please accept my apologies for Amanda's conduct this evening. Her comments were completely inappropriate regardless of anyone's financial circumstances, but knowing what we now understand about your achievements and generosity makes her behavior even more difficult to comprehend or excuse." David's response to my mother's apology demonstrated the gracious character and mature perspective that had enabled him to maintain dignity throughout Amanda's sustained attack while preparing for revelations that would ultimately vindicate our values-based approach to relationships and life planning. "Mrs. Chen, please do not feel responsible for Amanda's concerns about our wedding planning and life choices. Her comments reflect genuine care for Sarah's welfare, though perhaps expressed through evaluation criteria that do not align with the principles Sarah and I consider most important for building a successful marriage and meaningful life together." The diplomatic generosity of David's response impressed family members who recognized his willingness to interpret Amanda's behavior charitably even after experiencing sustained personal attacks that would have justified much harsher responses. His demonstration of mature conflict resolution and relationship management provided additional evidence of the leadership capabilities that had enabled his extraordinary business achievements. David continued sharing information that further illuminated the scope of his professional accomplishments and the sophisticated approach he had developed toward wealth stewardship and social responsibility. The three companies I mentioned represent only part of a broader business portfolio that includes venture capital investments in emerging technology companies, partnerships with educational institutions to develop workforce training programs, and philanthropic initiatives focused on expanding access to technology education in underserved communities. These additional details revealed that David's business interests extended well beyond personal wealth accumulation to encompass systematic efforts to create opportunities for others and address social challenges through strategic investment and community development. His approach to success encompassed both individual achievement and broader contribution in ways that aligned with the most sophisticated models of conscious capitalism and social entrepreneurship. Jennifer, whose legal practice had provided her with extensive experience evaluating business structures and philanthropic organizations, recognized the implications of David's expanded disclosure about his professional activities and community involvement. David, the scope of activities you are describing would require coordination with major financial institutions, educational organizations, and community development agencies. The infrastructure necessary to manage that level of business complexity and social impact would involve hundreds of professional relationships and enormous administrative capability. David's acknowledgement of Jennifer's assessment provided additional context about the organizational sophistication required to manage his business empire while maintaining the personal values and relationship priorities that had guided his courtship with me. Jennifer, you are correct that managing these responsibilities requires extensive professional support and systematic organizational processes. However, I have been fortunate to work with exceptional teams of people who share commitments to excellence and service that enable us to achieve results while maintaining focus on purposes that extend beyond financial returns. The reference to exceptional teams and shared commitments provided insights into David's leadership philosophy and his ability to inspire others toward common purposes that combined business success with social contribution. His approach to organizational development reflected the same values-driven perspective that had attracted me initially, and that continued to guide our relationship planning. Amanda's continued struggle to process the evening's revelations became apparent as she attempted to understand how someone with David's resources and achievements could choose lifestyle approaches that contradicted her assumptions about appropriate wealth demonstration and social positioning. David, I still do not comprehend why you would choose to live modestly and plan a simple wedding when you possess resources that could provide any lifestyle imaginable. Sarah deserves to experience the finest things in life, and you clearly have the capability to provide them. Amanda's persistent focus on lifestyle consumption and social display revealed her inability to recognize alternative approaches to wealth utilization that prioritized personal authenticity and meaningful contribution over impressive demonstration and status positioning. Her questions reflected fundamental misunderstanding of how truly successful individuals often approached material prosperity and social responsibility. David's response to Amanda's continued bewilderment provided comprehensive explanation of the philosophy that guided his approach to wealth management and life planning, offering perspectives that challenged conventional assumptions about the relationship between financial resources and personal fulfillment. Amanda, Sarah and I have discovered that authentic happiness and relationship satisfaction derive from alignment between our values and our actions, rather than from acquisition of material possessions or social recognition. The business success has provided us with freedom to choose how we want to live, rather than obligation to demonstrate our achievements through lifestyle display. David paused to allow his words to register, before continuing with explanations that would provide deeper insights into his decision-making framework and his understanding of the relationship between material prosperity and personal meaning. We have chosen to invest our resources in experiences that create lasting significance, rather than possessions that provide temporary satisfaction. Our wedding planning reflects our desire to celebrate our commitment with people we love in ways that emphasize the importance of our relationship, rather than the scale of our financial resources. These explanations provided family members with profound insights into alternative approaches to success and wealth, that prioritized authenticity over impression and long-term fulfillment over short-term validation. David's perspective challenged conventional assumptions about appropriate wealth utilization, while offering models of conscious prosperity that aligned material success with personal values and social contribution. The evening's revelations had fundamentally transformed everyone's understanding of success, worth, and the relationship between appearance and reality. Amanda's material-focused critique had been revealed as based on entirely false premises, while David's values-driven approach to extraordinary wealth had provided powerful validation of the principles that guided our relationship and life planning. As family members continued processing the implications of David's disclosures, the profound lessons about authentic success, conscious wealth stewardship, and the importance of character over display became increasingly apparent. The evening had evolved from Amanda's intended celebration of family sophistication into a masterclass in recognizing and appreciating genuine achievement that operated according to principles far more sophisticated than conventional displays of material prosperity. The emotional devastation that overwhelmed Amanda following David's comprehensive revelations manifested itself through a series of physical and psychological reactions that demonstrated the profound impact of having one's fundamental worldview completely demolished in front of an audience of family members and respected guests. Her face cycled through expressions of disbelief, mortification, and growing comprehension of the magnitude of her misjudgments and their implications for her credibility, relationships, and professional reputation. Amanda sank slowly into her chair, her previous confidence and aggressive certainty replaced by visible trembling, as she processed the complete collapse of every assumption that had motivated her evening-long attack on David's character and adequacy as a partner. The engagement ring she had dismissed as embarrassing costume jewelry was now revealed as a sophisticated selection from exclusive sources that exceeded her own understanding of luxury goods and fine craftsmanship. The modest wedding plans she had criticized as evidence of limited ambition were now understood as conscious choices made by individuals whose resources could support any celebration imaginable. The silence that enveloped the dining room provided space for family members to absorb the extraordinary nature of the evening's developments, while recognizing the profound lessons about judgment, assumption, and the relationship between appearance and reality that had emerged through Amanda's confrontation with David. The carefully orchestrated family gathering that Amanda had planned as an opportunity to showcase sophistication and success had transformed into a powerful demonstration of how appearance-based evaluation could lead to catastrophic misjudgments and personal humiliation. David's approach to managing Amanda's emotional collapse demonstrated remarkable emotional intelligence and leadership capability that provided additional evidence of the personal qualities that had enabled his extraordinary business achievements. Rather than allowing Amanda to suffer alone with her mortification or taking advantage of her vulnerability to reinforce the lessons about her inappropriate behavior, he chose to address the situation with compassion and constructive perspective that offered pathways toward understanding and growth. Amanda, I recognize that this evening has provided information that challenges assumptions you had made about our situation, and I appreciate how disorienting that experience must be for someone who has invested considerable thought and concern in Sarah's welfare. The discovery that our circumstances differ significantly from what you had understood does not diminish the genuine care for your sister that motivated your comments. The generosity of David's interpretation of Amanda's behavior and his willingness to acknowledge her sincere concern for my welfare provided her with an opportunity to process the evening's revelations without complete loss of dignity or family relationships. His approach to conflict resolution and relationship management reflected sophisticated understanding of human psychology and social dynamics that enabled constructive outcomes, even from profoundly challenging interpersonal situations. Amanda's initial response to David's gracious interpretation of her behavior revealed the depth of her emotional turmoil and her struggle to reconcile the collapse of her assumptions with her need to maintain some semblance of coherent self-understanding and social positioning within the family dynamic. David, I do not know how to process what I have learned tonight or how to respond appropriately to the magnitude of my misjudgments about your character, resources, and approach to life. Everything I believed about success, demonstration of commitment, and appropriate relationship standards has been challenged by revelations that I never could have anticipated. The vulnerability in Amanda's admission and her acknowledgement of the comprehensive nature of her misconceptions represented the beginning of a transformation process that would ultimately lead to profound changes in her understanding of worth, success, and the principles that guided meaningful achievement and authentic relationships. My parents' reactions to Amanda's emotional collapse and David's gracious response provided additional perspective on the evening's developments and their implications for family relationships and future interactions. My father, whose engineering background had provided him with appreciation for systematic thinking and evidence-based evaluation, addressed Amanda's distress with the combination of paternal concern and constructive analysis that characterized his approach to complex problems. Amanda, tonight's revelations provide important lessons about the limitations of making judgments based on surface appearances rather than deeper investigation and understanding. David's approach to life and relationships reflects principles that prioritize substance over display, and his business success demonstrates that authentic achievement often operates according to different models than what popular culture might suggest. My father's interpretation of the evening's lessons and his emphasis on the value of substance over display reinforced the philosophical framework that had guided David's extraordinary success while providing Amanda with conceptual tools for understanding alternative approaches to wealth, achievement, and social positioning that differed dramatically from her previous assumptions. My mother's response to Amanda's emotional state reflected both maternal concern for her daughter's welfare and recognition of the importance of learning from experiences that challenged fundamental assumptions about life priorities and relationship evaluation. Amanda, I know tonight has been difficult for you, but I believe these revelations provide opportunities for growth and deeper understanding of what constitutes meaningful success and authentic relationships. David's achievements and his approach to wealth demonstrate that the most accomplished individuals often choose to live according to principles that emphasize contribution and service rather than personal display and social validation. The supportive framework provided by my parents' responses helped create an environment where Amanda could begin processing the evening's lessons without feeling completely isolated or judged for her misconceptions. Their emphasis on growth opportunities and learning rather than punishment or humiliation reflected the family values that had shaped my own development, and that continued to guide our approach to challenging interpersonal situations. Jennifer's perspective on the evening's developments, informed by her legal practice and extensive exposure to high-net-worth individuals and complex business structures, provided additional context that helped family members understand the broader implications of David's revelations and their significance for evaluating success and achievement in contemporary society. Amanda, your experience tonight illustrates challenges that many people face when attempting to evaluate success and achievement in fields where authentic accomplishment often operates according to principles that differ significantly from popular assumptions and media representations. David's business model and lifestyle choices reflect sophisticated understanding of wealth stewardship and social responsibility that prioritize long-term value creation over short-term impression management. Jennifer's analysis of the evening's lessons and her emphasis on the sophistication of David's approach to business leadership and wealth management provided Amanda with professional perspective that validated the learning opportunities inherent in her profound misjudgments while offering frameworks for developing more accurate evaluation methods in the future. The conversation that emerged among family members following David's revelations and Amanda's emotional processing created an impromptu educational forum where various perspectives on success, achievement, and relationship evaluation were explored through respectful dialogue and mutual learning. The evening had evolved from Amanda's intended celebration into a profound examination of values, assumptions, and the principles that guided meaningful life choices. David's continued participation in this discussion demonstrated his commitment to using the evening's developments as opportunities for education and growth rather than personal vindication or social dominance. His approach to sharing insights about business leadership, wealth stewardship, and relationship priorities reflected the same teaching orientation that had enabled him to build successful organizations while maintaining focus on contribution and service. The principles that have guided my business development and personal life choices reflect lessons learned through extensive experience with complex organizational challenges and diverse stakeholder relationships. Sustainable success in business requires systematic attention to long-term value creation, stakeholder welfare, and social contribution rather than exclusive focus on financial returns or competitive positioning. David's explanation of his business philosophy and its connection to personal relationship decisions provided family members with insights into integrated approaches to life planning that align professional achievement with personal values and social responsibility. His perspective challenged conventional assumptions about the relationship between business success and personal fulfillment, while offering alternative models for evaluating achievement and designing meaningful lives. Amanda's gradual engagement with this educational discussion represented progress in her ability to process the evening's revelations, while beginning to develop alternative frameworks for understanding success and worth that extended beyond her previous focus on material display and social positioning. David, I am beginning to understand that my approach to evaluating relationships and success has been limited by assumptions that equated visible consumption with actual achievement and apparent lifestyle with underlying capability. Your revelations tonight have forced me to reconsider fundamental beliefs about what constitutes appropriate demonstration of commitment and success. Amanda's acknowledgement of the limitations in her previous evaluation methods and her willingness to reconsider fundamental beliefs represented significant progress in her transformation process. Her openness to alternative perspectives and her recognition of the sophistication inherent in David's approach to business and personal life choices indicated genuine learning rather than mere acceptance of corrected information. The discussion that continued among family members throughout the remainder of the evening provided opportunities for exploring various aspects of authentic success, conscious wealth stewardship, and the principles that guided meaningful achievement in contemporary society. The conversation encompassed topics ranging from business ethics and social responsibility to personal fulfillment and relationship development. David's contributions to these discussions revealed additional dimensions of his expertise and experience, while demonstrating his genuine commitment to education and mutual learning, rather than personal aggrandizement or social positioning. His willingness to share insights about complex business challenges and strategic decision-making reflected confidence in his achievements combined with humility about the collaborative nature of successful organizational development. The engagement ring that had served as the catalyst for Amanda's initial critique and the evening's subsequent revelations became a symbol of the broader lessons about evaluation methods and the relationship between appearance and underlying value. The modest diamond that Amanda had dismissed as inadequate was now understood as representing sophisticated appreciation for quality, craftsmanship, and personal meaning that exceeded conventional luxury retail standards. My own reflections on the evening's developments and their implications for family relationships and future interactions emphasized the validation of principles that my grandmother had instilled during my childhood, and that had continued to guide my approach to life decisions and relationship development. The confrontation between appearance-based evaluation and values-driven assessment had demonstrated the superiority of authentic approaches to success and achievement. The transformation that began in Amanda during this evening would continue developing over subsequent weeks and months, as she processed the profound implications of her misconceptions and began implementing alternative approaches to evaluating success, relationships, and personal worth. The lessons learned through her confrontation with David would ultimately lead to significant changes in her professional approach, personal relationships, and understanding of meaningful achievement. As the evening concluded and family members began preparing to leave, the atmosphere reflected a combination of emotional exhaustion from the dramatic developments and intellectual stimulation from the profound discussions that had emerged through the confrontation and revelation process. The family gathering that had begun as Amanda's attempt to showcase sophistication had evolved into a transformative educational experience that challenged fundamental assumptions while providing frameworks for more authentic approaches to success and relationship evaluation. The 3 days following the family dinner provided Amanda with her first opportunity to process the magnitude of her misconceptions without the immediate pressure of social observation and family dynamics. She had requested time away from work, informing her supervisor at Platinum Events that a personal family matter required her complete attention and preventing her from maintaining the professional focus that her client responsibilities demanded. This decision represented unprecedented acknowledgement from Amanda that personal growth required prioritization over career obligations and social positioning. Amanda spent these initial days in her West Hollywood apartment, surrounded by the expensive furnishings and luxury possessions that had previously validated her understanding of success and social achievement. The designer clothing in her closet, the high-end accessories displayed throughout her living spaces, and the premium location that consumed the majority of her income now served as constant reminders of the evaluation system that had led to her profound misjudgments about David's character and circumstances. The contrast between her appearance-focused lifestyle and David's values-driven approach to extraordinary wealth created cognitive dissonance that forced Amanda to examine fundamental assumptions about the relationship between material possessions and personal worth. Her apartment, which had previously represented achievement and sophisticated taste, now felt like evidence of misplaced priorities and superficial understanding of authentic success principles. Amanda's initial reflection process involved systematic review of her professional experiences and personal relationships to identify patterns of appearance-based evaluation that had shaped her worldview and decision-making processes. She recognized that her work environment at Platinum Events had reinforced assumptions that equated expensive displays with genuine achievement, and that prioritized impressive presentations over substantive contributions or meaningful relationships. The clients she served through her event planning work had consistently demonstrated wealth through elaborate celebrations, luxury venues, and high-end service providers that created memorable experiences through scale and expense rather than through personal significance or authentic connection. This professional exposure had gradually convinced Amanda that successful individuals naturally chose impressive displays to communicate their achievements and social positioning to others. Amanda's personal relationships had reflected similar patterns of evaluation and prioritization that emphasized external validation over deeper compatibility and shared values. Her dating history revealed consistent selection of partners, based on their ability to provide access to exclusive experiences and social circles, rather than their character, integrity, or potential for meaningful long-term connection and mutual growth. The recognition that her evaluation methods had been fundamentally flawed created profound emotional distress, as Amanda confronted the implications of her approach for both personal relationships and professional effectiveness. She began to understand that her appearance-focused worldview had prevented her from recognizing authentic achievement and genuine character in multiple contexts throughout her adult life. This realization led Amanda to conduct comprehensive review of her interactions with family members over previous years, identifying instances where her material-focused perspective had created conflict or misunderstanding with relatives who prioritized different values and life approaches. She recognized patterns of criticism and unsolicited advice that had been motivated by her assumptions about appropriate success demonstration rather than genuine concern for family welfare. The relationship with me had been particularly affected by Amanda's appearance-based evaluation system, as she had consistently interpreted my modest lifestyle and practical choices as evidence of limited ambition rather than conscious decisions based on authentic values and long-term priorities. Her previous attempts to influence my career decisions, relationship choices, and general life planning had reflected her inability to recognize alternative approaches to success that prioritized meaning over impression. Amanda's reflection on these patterns revealed the extent to which her worldview had created barriers to understanding and appreciating family members whose achievements and life choices differed from her expectations for impressive display and social validation. She began to comprehend that her critique of my engagement and wedding planning had been driven by concern for social positioning rather than genuine understanding of relationship health and personal fulfillment. The 3-day reflection period also provided Amanda with opportunities to research David's business achievements and philanthropic activities through publicly available sources that confirmed and expanded upon the revelations he had shared during the family dinner. The information she discovered through professional publications, industry reports, and news articles provided additional context for understanding the scope of his success and the sophisticated approach he had developed toward wealth stewardship and social contribution. Meridian Systems, Health Tech Solutions, and Eduvance were featured prominently in technology industry publications as examples of successful companies that had achieved remarkable growth while maintaining focus on customer service, employee welfare, and community development. The articles Amanda reviewed described David's leadership philosophy and business approach in terms that emphasized innovation, collaboration, and social responsibility rather than personal enrichment or competitive dominance. The philanthropic initiatives associated with David's business empire included educational programs for underserved communities, technology access projects for rural areas, and workforce development partnerships with community colleges and vocational schools. These activities demonstrated systematic commitment to using business success for broader social benefit, rather than exclusive focus on shareholder returns or executive compensation. Amanda's research revealed that David's approach to wealth and business leadership aligned with emerging models of conscious capitalism and social entrepreneurship that prioritized stakeholder welfare and community development alongside financial performance. His companies had received recognition for employee satisfaction, environmental responsibility, and contributions to educational advancement that indicated genuine commitment to principles beyond profit maximization. This research process provided Amanda with educational opportunities to understand business models and leadership approaches that differed dramatically from the conspicuous consumption and status display that had characterized her professional environment and personal worldview. The sophistication of David's organizational development and social impact initiatives challenged her assumptions about how successful entrepreneurs utilized their resources and positioned themselves within their communities. The discovery that David's business philosophy emphasized contribution and service over personal aggrandizement and social positioning created additional perspective on his modest lifestyle choices and values-driven approach to relationship development. His decision to live simply despite extraordinary financial resources now appeared as conscious implementation of principles that prioritized authenticity and meaning over impressive demonstration and external validation. Amanda's expanded understanding of David's character and achievements also provided new context for appreciating the relationship he had developed with me, and the compatibility that had attracted us to each other despite our different family backgrounds and professional experiences. The values-driven approach that guided his business leadership aligned perfectly with the principles my grandmother had instilled during my childhood and that had continued to shape my personal and professional decision-making throughout my adult life. The recognition that David and I shared fundamental approaches to evaluating worth, making decisions, and prioritizing life objectives helped Amanda understand why our relationship had developed such strong foundations and why our engagement and wedding planning reflected authentic preferences rather than financial limitations or social naivety. Our choices represented conscious implementation of shared values rather than acceptance of inadequate treatment or missed opportunities for advancement. Amanda's reflection on the engagement ring that had catalyzed her initial critique revealed additional layers of meaning and sophistication that had been invisible to her appearance-focused evaluation methods. The research she conducted regarding fine jewelry and custom craftsmanship provided education about quality indicators and artistic excellence that extended well beyond size and immediate visual impact. The modest diamond that she had dismissed as inadequate was now understood as exemplifying superior cut precision, exceptional clarity, and careful selection for brilliance and fire that would provide lasting beauty regardless of changing fashion trends or social expectations. The elegant setting reflected masterful craftsmanship and timeless design principles that prioritized artistic excellence over dramatic presentation or trend-driven styling. Amanda began to recognize that her previous critique of the engagement ring had revealed her own limitations in understanding quality and sophistication, rather than identifying actual inadequacies in David's selection process or commitment demonstration. Her appearance-based evaluation had prevented her from appreciating the authentic luxury and thoughtful consideration that the ring represented through its superior materials and expert craftsmanship. The 3-day reflection period concluded with Amanda reaching several important conclusions about the changes she needed to implement in her evaluation methods, relationship approaches, and professional practices to align with more sophisticated understanding of success and achievement. She recognized that her transformation would require systematic modification of deeply ingrained patterns of thinking and behavior that had shaped her worldview for many years. Amanda's first priority involved developing appreciation for substance over appearance in her professional interactions and client relationships at platinum events. She began planning modifications to her approach that would emphasize meaningful celebration and authentic connection rather than impressive display and social positioning. This shift would require educating clients about alternative approaches to event planning that prioritized personal significance over competitive demonstration. The second area requiring transformation involved Amanda's personal relationships and dating practices, where she recognized the need to evaluate potential partners based on character, compatibility, and shared values, rather than financial resources, social positioning, or ability to provide impressive lifestyle experiences. This change would require developing new methods for recognizing authentic achievement and genuine connection that extended beyond surface appearances and material displays. Amanda's third priority focused on family relationships and her approach to offering advice or expressing concerns about relatives, life choices, and decision-making processes. She understood that her previous attempts to influence family members had been motivated by her own assumptions about appropriate success demonstration rather than genuine understanding of their actual needs and preferences. The comprehensive nature of the transformation Amanda recognized as necessary created both excitement about growth opportunities and anxiety about implementing changes that would affect multiple aspects of her personal and professional life. However, the profound lessons learned through her confrontation with David provided strong motivation for pursuing authentic understanding and meaningful relationships that aligned with more sophisticated approaches to success and fulfillment. As Amanda prepared to return to work and begin implementing her new understanding, she felt simultaneously humbled by the magnitude of her previous misconceptions and energized by the possibilities for developing more authentic approaches to professional success and personal relationships. The family dinner that had begun as her attempt to showcase sophistication had ultimately provided her with educational opportunities that would influence the remainder of her life and career development. Up next, you've got 2 more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any upload from us.